All right, what I want to talk about is the arc fault circuit interrupter. That was dealt in the 2008 code book. I think I have a picture of it, and then 2020, somewhere between then and now, they keep on adding, the kids writing codes keep on adding and adding and adding. The arc fault circuit interrupter has done nothing. All it does is prove that it works, but it has not solved any problem. What it does is it breaks, and when it breaks, somebody replaces it. See, I would say the best thing you could do is when the electrician comes and does the thing under a permit, and the inspector inspects it, seal it, be done. But now, the National Electrical Code Committee put this thing in. This is the arc fault circuit interrupter plug or breaker, it doesn't make any difference. And then of course, I just tested the GFCI plug or breaker, and that doesn't work. The arc fault circuit interrupter solves no problem. It does function for an arc. What they did in the kitchen now is they put the arc fault circuit interrupter with the GFI. This is a massive amount of components in one little plug that will break. And when it breaks, it's got to be changed. This cost goes to the customer, the property owner. It doesn't function as any safety, none of these things function as a safety device because they all break. The circuit interrupter, what happens is when you put up a circuit, the faulter is here. Can you see that okay? Okay. Okay, well anyways, when you have a loose connection with a long continuous heavy current, like say an air conditioner or a heater or a toaster oven or whatever, if the current is on for a long time, the copper wire gets hot and then it'll shrink after it cools down and eventually it loses connection. So when the electrician puts the first plug in, and then he tightens all his joints, this means nothing, because when the electrician does all his joints and everything, it's passed, it's good. What happens is when they put the arc fault circuit interrupter and it breaks, the next guy that comes in doesn't do a job like the licensed electrician does. You have to leave a real plug-in. If you're going to inspect, if you're an inspector, and you see that they put the arc fault breaker, arc fault plug-in, or the GFI plug-in, you have to know it's not going to function what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to trip off the circuit if it's arcing. It's supposed to trip it off. But that doesn't do it, because the licensed electrician put it in. And he put a good solid. If he put this in, you won't have any problem. Because once he puts this plug in, and you put this in a wall, and the inspector inspects it, this is going to last. Because this doesn't have no components in it. It's straight copper fittings and plastic, that's it. It's all pressed together. These components are made to break. And when the National Electrical Code Committee put this in with the arc fault circuit interrupter and the GFI by the sink, this is where the appliances are. They run a lot of current, and this is going to break. And when it breaks, it's going to take it apart. Susie Smith is in the house, and her circuit, this thing breaks, and she's going to call anybody. The next guy that comes in is this guy. This is Charlie. Charlie knows how to fix the problem. He's going to show up with all these thrift store tools, and he's going to fix this problem with this. He's going to put in a plug. He's not going to put in a good heavy-duty plug. He's going to put in a regular cheapo 15-amp plug, and what's going to happen is just this, because he doesn't know how to do it. The problem is not when it was first installed. So if you first install something and put a heavy-duty 20-amp plug, if you're an inspector, you have to know this is going to last. Because the circuit, this one here is going to break. And it doesn't do anything anyway. This is a false sense of safety, just like the GFI. This is made only if somebody like Charlie comes in and does it. Charlie's going to But Charlie's not the one that the inspector's inspecting because you got a permit originally. So the guy who got the permit, the inspector comes up and inspects the electrical work from a licensed electrician. Those are the guys that are good. But this is not that good. If this is good, then the NEC is going to guarantee this for as long as they guarantee this for. And I'm not just saying the part. If the NEC is making a demand for you to put this in around your appliances, which is going to break and it doesn't do anything anyway, then the NEC's got to come out and repair it within 12 hours. They're up in Quincy, Mass. I'm in Long Beach, California. I know this is going to break. The last 5 calls we got on service calls, the last 5 calls, no quit, no chip. Every one of them was because Charlie was there and he tried to put in a GFI. Every one of them was wrong. Every one of them looked like this. They had loose connections, they had different joints in them, they're put on backwards, every single one of them. So I know that the GFCI doesn't function, except that it will break and somebody else is going to put it in and it's going to mess up and it's going to be an expense to the property owner. See, the guy who invents this here, the GFI and the arc fault breaker, is this guy. This is breaker juiced. He will create anything to make money. And he will show that it works. But to these people here, these are new kids writing codes. These are the new kids writing electrical codes. As far as I can see, this is the only pictures we got. And we have a picture here, and we have a picture here of them eating dinner. This is them discussing a wardrobe, and this is when they did a test. This is the director here. This is all I can say is that if these aren't the guys, these are the same guys that's supposed to be qualified to write electrical codes. They're not qualified. They don't even know what it's for. The arc fault circuit interrupter does function, but it doesn't solve the problem. It will create a problem. When you inspect somebody to put the arc fault circuit interrupter in, what you're doing is insulting the other inspector before. Because the original inspector, that when it was a permit and the inspector inspected the licensed electrician's job, he did it right. When you inspect it, you got to think to yourself, this is going to break. And Charlie's going to come in because Charlie will fix it. Charlie does it all the time. Everybody has a Charlie. This is the handyman. Charlie's going to show up and he's going to take this out and he's going to put in a bad plug and it's going to turn out like this. That's it. Now, if it is a circuit breaker, wait 1 second. If you have a GFCI circuit breaker, an arc fault circuit breaker, Charlie's going to show up. And Charlie's not going to put in the right circuit breaker in the panel. He's going to put in one that fits. Because Charlie just bought all these. He bought these breakers on Craigslist for $3 for a bunch. And he's going to find the one that fits. It doesn't make any difference. It's Square D home line. He's going to put in an old Challenger. He might put in one of these Bryant breakers, whatever. Charlie's just going to put in whatever he wants to put in. And now Susie Smith, the homeowner, just thinks Charlie's great because he just fixed the problem. If he fixed the plug in the wall, he put a regular plug in, she's going to think he's great. So she gives his name to the next person who's got a problem. I put in one of these panels that had a whole bunch of arc fault circuit interrupters in. Well, Charlie will come out, and he's going to take them all out, and he's going to put in all kinds of little stupid breakers that are not supposed to be in the panel. And he's going to sell all the arc fault breakers to somebody else. Susie thinks he's great because he fixed the problem. Because the circuit breaker, the arc fault circuit breaker tripped off and shut off for power to her computer or something. The second time she's going to call Charlie. Charlie's no more the handyman anymore because he fixed the problem. Charlie's now a retired electrician. Charlie's not an electrician. Charlie's a retired clerk at a hardware store or something like that. He doesn't have to show any reference and he doesn't have to show any liability. He's not a licensed electrician. When you're talking about 120 volt electricity, electricity is dangerous. I spent all my life doing it. It's dangerous. You've got to call a licensed electrician for anything. Don't listen to anybody on YouTube, because they are not qualified to educate anybody else. They don't have any education. Don't listen to the NEC, because that's these kids. They're writing codes. They don't know what it does. I'm telling you, this arc fault circuit interrupter plug is only a problem. It does not solve a problem. It is a problem. They don't care that it doesn't solve any problem. They just know that it works. So they put it in the code book. And now it's everywhere. You've seen a 2008 code and a 2020. They now write it in everywhere. You got to tell the fire department that this is not the solvings of arc faults. The way to solve an arc fault is to put in something in the outlet. You've got to put an outlet in that will last. When the inspector inspects it, this is a 20 amp heavy duty plug. They make a couple of different grades. This needs to be put in everywhere. When you have your regular circuitry in your house, you have, stop that for a second.